Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 594. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. Cowabunga, dudes.
Radical.
Radical. If each of us was a Ninja Turtle, which one would we be? Being there's only three of us, so one person would get left out.
Donatello.
You would be Donatello.
Raphael.
You'd be Raphael?
Yeah.
I guess I'm probably the Michelangelo of the group.
None of us
Yeah,
want to
I
be
was-
the leader, evidently.
Well, so in my family, there's four kids.
Right.
And so there were four Ninja Turtles. We had assigned, like we all had our dibs on a Ninja Turtle. I was always Raph.
Would you say Raph is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And my son is Leonardo.
Mm-hmm.
He always picks Leonardo. And my daughter switches back and forth between Michelangelo and Donatello.
My
Currently,
son, okay.
in her mind, Michelangelo can fly and go invisible.
Oh, that's like that's like alternate dimension Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your son?
Michelangelo is his favorite right now.
Interesting.
James, how about your son? Was he into Ninja Turtles growing up?
You know, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I know he knows what they are, and I think he watched them when there was like the revival on Nicktoons or whatever it was. But never was like a real big vocal fan of the Turtles.
Interesting. Okay.
That's interesting.
I try not to like push things on him either. Like I could have pushed that, but honestly, like I was a big fan of the Ninja Turtles as a kid, but as I got older, it became less important to me.
Okay.
So
You know what I mean? Like I don't really care, have never cared if he liked the Turtles. Whereas like Star Wars, I was showing him as soon as I could. Because I wanted him to like Star Wars. And he likes Star Wars. Okay. You know what I mean? Not near to the level that I did or do. But that's fair because why would he? You know what I mean? So
Ever since I just mentioned the existence of the Ninja Turtles like a year ago to my daughter, she's been obsessed with them. I mean, probably on a daily basis, she'll ask me 4 times to tell her a Ninja Turtle story.
yeah, has she consumed any Ninja Turtles media,
Yeah,
or is
she's
it just through you?
She's probably watched maybe 20 of the cartoon episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, the 80s cartoon, and she loves those. And we've gotten a couple books from the library.
How do those 80s cartoon ones hold up? Because in my mind, they're perfect, but I was 6 or 7 when I was watching those.
I still think they're super fun to watch.
Okay.
They are not appropriate for me to be showing my daughter, for sure.
Because of the fighting or the low?
No, all the language, what they say to each other. They're just not the turtles, but like the bad guys are just constantly insulting people.
Okay.
You know?
Like stupid or idiots or a pizza breath?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stupid pizza breath, numbskull punk. you
Right.
know?
Yeah. It's a very 80s cartoon thing of
Yeah.
like the bad guy just treating his minions like dirt.
Yeah. But she loves it.
yeah, I
Did
mean,
she
I'm
see this movie?
No, and this movie would not be appropriate.
Yeah,
for
this
her.
was. I agree.
a lot of those 80s cartoons, they were meant to be ingested like 1 a week, maybe 2 back to back a week. But
Right.
if you try to binge them, you will see the formula really fast. They're all like Monster of the Week, and they're all very formulaic, like down to even like the scripts are like they recycle dialogue from episode to episode and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
Did I tell you guys, and maybe I have, when Megan and I first got Netflix in the mail, original Netflix in the mail, MacGyver was on there. So we rented the first season of MacGyver, and we watched maybe 5 episodes in 6 days and realized, oh, this show is very formulaic and does not hold up as well as I thought it would.
Hard disagree.
You disagree, really?
Yeah.
There were some legit boring episodes of MacGyver that we were watching. I was like, oh boy.
You watched the first season. Like that's, I mean, it's just like someone giving up on Parks and Rec because they watched the first season.
I guess
or The Office, rather.
It
Well,
wasn't.
he wouldn't get that reference.
Yeah. What the Office? The what? It wasn't filling my nostalgia hole of watching that.
Sure.
So I think I had to like look up the 10 best episodes and just find those somewhere.
Several years ago, me and some friends would get together once a week for pizza and MacGyver.
Okay.
And we would watch MacGyver together as friends, as adults, and it was super fun.
And you watched every single one, or did you cherry pick
No,
the
no.
episodes?
I think it was more just kind of random.
Okay. But was it random, or was someone like, oh, we should watch this one?
No, just whatever the next thing that was back when it was on Prime or whatever, just whatever was recommended.
Okay.
The next.
Interesting.
I had the same
Great.
feeling with A-Team. I went back and tried to watch it. I was a huge fan as a kid. And when I tried to watch it as an adult, I was like, this is not good. This is a really awful show.
It's a lot of Jeeps flying off of ledges.
Right. Yeah. And it happens like clockwork, 38 minutes into every episode because they're
Right.
like 43 minutes total. And so normally that's when they would go build or turn the A-Team van into something or whatever. And then within 5 minutes, the show had ended. They made the same jokes over and over.
Right.
BA doesn't like flying. Face is smooth with the ladies. It's like every single episode, these same 5 things would happen, no matter what the storyline was.
I wonder if
brutal.
old school Mission Impossible TV series is the same way. Most likely is.
I never watched that the first time around.
Well, I didn't watch it the first time around. That came out in like the 60s or 70s, but
Mhm.
it was on Nick at Night when I was a kid. And I used to watch it there. They were fun back then.
Interesting. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Episode 594. We're getting there. 6 episodes away from the big 600. I know we discussed it, but did we decide what we're actually doing, or did we just table the decision?
We tabled it. We shied away from making a decision.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we're getting there. Today, we're going to talk a new release movie. This movie is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. We're also going to run down and rank the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies that have been released. And before we do all that, we need to do a little bit of housekeeping, including reminding you there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Cinereelists. Find us there and subscribe. You could support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Get extra after show audio, amongst other Cinereelist swag. You could leave us an Apple Podcast review, 5 stars only. We'd appreciate that. Or send us a listener email, heyguys@cinereelist.com. REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a question, a list suggestion, a movie suggestion, any of those kinds of things. We're probably pretty due for a listener email episode too. I think they're
piling
stacked
up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they've
mailbag's
stacked up.
pretty full over here.
Not too full though. Send us an email, heyguys@cinereelist.com. Anybody have anything else to say before we jump into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem?
Let's do it.
Go.
All right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem is in theaters now. We're going to talk about it right after this clip.
Boys, where have you been? I've been freaking out.
We're sorry, Dad.
It was this one it was this cat, and I'm scared of cats, so
Yeah, we did have to actually
Wait a second. You said you would go shopping, then come right back. Where were you?
nothing.
Look, we're really sorry, Splinter. Some of the guys want to see a movie and I try to talk them out of it.
Are you what? You watch a movie with a human?
You ratted us out.
Hey, don't use that word that way.
I mean, it's 2023.
Sorry, Dad.
That was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, a 2023 American computer animated superhero film. Directed by Jeff Rowe, with a screenplay by Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, Jeff Rowe, Dan Hernandez, and Benji Sammet. starring the voices of Micah Abbey, Sharnon Brown Jr., Hannibal Buress, Rose Byrne, Nicholas Cantu, John Cena, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, Natasha Demetrio, Ayo Edebiri, Giancarlo Esposito, Post Malone, Brady Noon, Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, and Maya Rudolph. I'm pretty sure that's everybody. That was a lot. And featuring music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem is: the film follows the Turtle brothers as they work to earn the love of New York City while facing down an army of mutants. What did you guys think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem? Before you get into this, just some parameters. We're going to talk very briefly about broad thoughts on the film, and then we're going to move into a very light spoiler section. What we mean by that is there's maybe like some difference between some of the origin stories of some of these characters that we'd like to discuss. We don't necessarily think they're spoilers that will hurt your experiencing of the movie, but we just wanted to make it known that maybe there might be like what some people might consider mild spoilers in the discussion. So stick around. We'll let you know when we move into that portion of the review. Now, what'd you guys think of the film? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm a big Ninja Turtle fan. I think the Ninja Turtles are really fun. And one thing I thought this movie did a good job of is it embraced just kind of the silliness of the Ninja Turtles property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was invented to be a joke, and there's just natural silliness involved with the whole deal. And this movie kind of ran with that in a way that some of the other ones don't. And I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It was entertaining and definitely action packed. It's got, it's a unique little animation style. I wouldn't say it's as earth shattering as Spider-Verse was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still fun to see unique art styles and stuff going on. And I enjoyed a lot of the voice acting. When you compare this to like other reboots of the Ninja Turtles franchise, like the Michael Bay ones, I am so much more comfortable with these versions of the Turtles than I was with Michael Bay's. And so, these felt similar enough to be very comfortable, and then the differences didn't bug me. And so I was happy that this is kind of, in my mind, this is a modern ninja, like a contemporary Ninja Turtles story made for today's 14-year-olds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did feel a little bit like this was a kid's movie, not like an adult's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But like not a kids as in 8-year-olds. I thought this was a movie for teenagers, for 14-year-old boys, which is what the Ninja Turtles should be, And so I was fine with that.
You think Ninja Turtles was targeted at like 14-year-old boys like back in the day?
Not the comic, but the cartoon.
I don't think the cartoon was targeted at 14-year-olds.
I think it was targeted like 8 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we were watching Ninja Turtles as kids, and we weren't 14.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I'm not committed to that statement. I'm just saying this one feels like, I'm just saying it's a kid's toy. You know, like it's a kid's thing.
Sure.
This one feels like the target audience is not me, and necessarily first and primarily, and it's not little kids. It's like teenagers.
Sure.
That seemed appropriate.
Well, I did take my 7-year-old to see this, and he really liked it.
Nice.
And I agree. It did feel more like a kid's movie or targeted towards not adults. We can define what the age group is, but I think we can all agree maybe this wasn't for adults necessarily. But I think there are a lot of things in there that adults our age who grew up with this could recognize. Like they definitely were making nods and some nostalgia jokes without it being too thick, which I appreciated. I agree with Zach. I liked that it embraced kind of the silliness of everything and the whole mutant idea, and it ran with it and had fun with it. I really liked the asymmetrical look of the animation, where especially like human faces weren't always, they'd have maybe one eye would be off center from the other, or like one cheek would be bigger. And it felt, I don't want to say Picasso-ish, but definitely we're not trying to make like perfect human faces. We're sort of drawing almost caricatures of humans. Even like some of the vehicles didn't have right angles. The one side of the roof would be higher than the other. So I thought all those little touches were nice, right? Maybe not as inventive as Across the Spider-Verse, but more interesting than watching just like regular 3D animation, which we've seen tons of. What I really liked is that these Ninja Turtles felt like teenagers. And maybe it's because they had, I assume, kids or teenagers doing the voice acting. I didn't recognize any of the main names for the teenagers or for the voice actors for the Ninja Turtles. If not, then the adults who were doing their voices did a really good job of sounding like teenagers. But on top of that, just how they acted, what they cared about. You know, they cared about being in school and making friends and making new friends and, you know, relationships and kind of all that stuff that 14, 15-year-olds would care about. They were cared about. Also like being goofy with each other too.
They've absolutely felt like teenagers,
right?
Like they're 15 years old, and I thought that was great.
I also liked that. I like the personalities of these Ninja Turtles because it's really easy to boil each one down to like who they are. Like, you know, Leonardo's the leader, Donatello's the nerd, Raphael's the angry one, Michelangelo's the party animal. And these characters had those aspects to their personality, but that wasn't all they were. So like we never got Donatello making crazy machines in the background, you know, like he was maybe a little nerdier than the rest of them, but he wasn't like way on the extreme. And Michelangelo wasn't like, you know, party pizza all the time either. So I like that they seemed a little more tepid with their personalities. If I had one big complaint, it just got to be a lot of fighting towards the end. And after a while, I was like, okay, I think this is interesting, but it's just a lot of fighting. And I could have used something else, but that's a minor complaint for an overall enjoyable movie.
Nice. I enjoyed it too. Like as a movie going experience, I didn't have any major like, you know, oh, I'm going to hate watch this type issues. I did have issues with the movie. Like I think it has a PG rating for a reason. I think it's just like a fairly like thin movie. Like on one side, it's like you were saying, Kyle, like none of the turtles have like super cliched dimension to them like the turtles actually have in most iterations. Although the original comics, the turtles like did not have those distinctions. I think the cartoon is what most people remember.
Right.
And those definitely played heavily into the, you know, Donatello's the inventor and Raphael's the angry one and blah, blah, blah. What I felt was missing the most from this, and maybe it's just because, as Zach mentioned, it wasn't made for people our age, is that like there's no pathos to any of these characters at all. Like they pretty much have one shallow motivation that all four of them share that drives most of the movie. And that was it. That was and it's not like I didn't feel like they experienced even that motivation with like shades of I don't know, any kind of distinction amongst each other. I mean, maybe Leonardo, who showed a little bit of interest in April, had like a little extra motivation for something going on. But for the most part, these other characters weren't like that. And they kept referring to things, but not actually showing them when it came to like the personality of the turtles. Like in the film, Raphael is referenced as like the guy who can't control his emotions, but like never once did we actually see that in the movie. You know what I mean? He didn't seem like a character that was out of control ever, or he would never lost control and therefore they lost the fight or anything like that. It was just like, oh, you're the angry one. You're never going to show it, but you are, type of thing. And so I I kind of felt like a lot of it was kind of like homogenized and like smashed down the center instead of like taking moments to go out to the sides and like kind of build the characters from scratch. And so I think there was something missed there, a missed opportunity. But what is there is fast paced, is different enough that even if you've seen these stories over and over, there's like some surprises here and there. Nothing earth shattering, but interesting takes. I really appreciated that they picked an animation style and stuck to it. And I wasn't like in love with the animation, but they did pick a style and they stuck to it. And I think clearly the people that are currently shepherding the Turtles like the Turtles. You know what I mean? They're not just making something for money.
Right.
They're making something for money, but they're not just making something for money. I think they had, I don't know what the motivations were, but I can imagine the motivations being, man, those Michael Bay movies suck. We got to do something because it can't be that again. Even though those movies made money. Go ahead, Kyle.
So you have what you said, Seth Rogen and Adam Goldberg wrote it. Seth Rogen produced it. So yeah, there's definitely a fanboy element to it.
Mm-hmm.
Of right, we love the Turtles and we want to make a version that people can love again too.
Did Seth Rogen introduce the movie in your theaters?
He did.
Yeah. How do you feel about these new, like, thank you for coming to the theater intros that happen at the beginning of movies?
Love them.
You love them, really?
I don't have
I
a
do.
problem with them. As long as they stay as short as Seth's was in this one, I'm down for it.
Okay.
It feels old school to me. Like, 1950s Hitchcock is going to tell me about his film or something.
Did they do that back then?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, sometimes, but
Sure.
I remember, I've seen trailers like that where it's like Hitchcock is like, I'm going to tell you a new story, and he kind of lays out the film for you narration style with clips playing at the same time.
I think it's great. You don't like it? It bothers you?
I don't know, it seems a little desperate.
Desperate.
Yeah, like they're like
desperate for what?
Like to get butts in the seats. Like,
But
They're
nobody's
already there.
They're already there.
They're already
there.
They're thanking you for being there.
I know. I guess true. It's not like they're showing that beforehand and saying, "Hey, please buy this ticket." But
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything lost or gained really by it, to be honest.
They can thank me by giving me a good movie. And I have yet to say I've yet to see a movie where it had the intro and then I hated it. So far it's been a positive experience between the intro and the movie itself. But
For me, I see it as a sign of they're proud of their film.
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise is the one that usually does it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he's proud of what he's doing,
Right. And he's proud that you came to watch Maverick in this theater during a pandemic.
Yeah. And he wants to shame the theater owners to make sure they show it the way he wants it to.
Well, he should shame Paramount for putting his movie out a week before Barbenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also, did I say I really like the voice performances? The kids are great.
You did, yeah.
Those are kid actors, I think.
That's good. Okay.
I really liked Ice Cube in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't place his voice, but it sounded very familiar, and then it made sense once I saw the credits.
Yeah. He played the main villain,
Yep.
Superfly. It was great.
If you guys have watched The Bear, that's Sydney from The Bear. She was doing the voice of April O'Neil. And I thought she was doing a nice job with it.
I've seen season
AU.
1. Seen season 1 of The Bear.
Okay, yeah.
Seen the
But
second one.
Sydney's in season 1. So,
Mhm.
yeah. AU Edibiri, I believe her name is.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah. As far as the soundtrack, I mean, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, couldn't tell you it was them from what it sounded like, to be honest. I was more, I think, not that they were wasted. It's just, it was nothing special in my opinion. But I did like the needle drops they pulled. Like
Those are, yeah.
Yeah. Tribe Called Quest was in there. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. There was a lot of good strategically censored hip hop music from
Yeah.
the 90s.
Some of those songs are a little rough, so they had to cut around that.
Yeah, I mean, they even had like the old Wu-Tang sound flip that like whenever
Right.
they would say the F word or whatever it is.
Well, yeah,
it
they
was
were
good.
playing ODB at one point with Shimmy Shimmy Yay. I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice for kids movie, but
For sure.
I could pick up on some of the Atticus Ross, Trent Reznor more towards the beginning when it had sort of like the synth soundtrack going on, but definitely the needle drops got heavier towards the end, and they kind of were pushed to the background.
Yeah. So overall, as far as like compared to other possibilities that this could have been, I think this was good.
Yeah.
But I also think like we'll get into this when we get into our list deeper, but when you compare it to some of the other entries, one in particular, I felt like you kind of lost any of the individuality of the four turtles. Not any. You lost a good deal of it. Not all of it, but a good deal of it. All right. Let's talk mild spoilers for this movie. We'll do a letterbox rating at the very end, since I think most people, unless you're way into turtles and you absolutely want to be 100% cold, you could just continue listening. It's fine. We're not going to tell you exactly how it ends, nor does it matter in the big picture. So listen on. So they completely change the setup for Splinter.
Yeah.
And kind of the turtles. Not really. A little bit.
Well, their origin story is different, but Splinter's character is the most different, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. He's just kind of this protective dad who they never call him Splinter in the movie, do they?
I don't think so.
I think he's always either called dad by them or like Ratman by
rat,
humans.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he is he called Splinter in the credits?
Probably. But he's very much like just a rat. He's not like a martial artist by training or anything like that. He's just a rat, and not like that cockroach joke is pretty like brutal.
Oh, the yeah, my best friend.
Yeah,
What, that he ate a cockroach?
Yeah.
Why was it brutal?
Because he's like, my best friend in the world was this cockroach, and then he gets stepped on, and then he's like, and then so I ate him. Like that, just the idea that he ate his best friend immediately after death.
Well, Zach, I do hope that if I die before you, you consume my flesh to gain my power. I thought that was a test. I thought that was a state agreement. I was planning on eating you if you died before I did. I didn't realize that we hadn't worked that out yet. So,
yeah, I like Jackie Chan's voice.
Yeah,
doing it. But as far as the character, it really neutered Splinter for me. He became someone that there just wasn't a lot to latch on. Like there wasn't a lot to like think he's interesting or cool. Like at least normal Splinter. I guess at the end, well, anyway, we won't go into it, but like normal Splinter is like teaches them martial arts and is very good at it and like is respectable at least, And in this one, he's
normal Splinter has this whole backstory that connects to the greater world of Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this one is just a rat,
just dad, just dad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they show later on that he has trained and become, a kung fu man.
Completely unexplainable. But yeah,
no, it's because they watched the old. Oh, what are those videos? They showed them the old karate videos you could rent. It's like Jesse Lee or something like that.
Yeah, and they watched old Bruce Lee movies and all the other stuff. Yeah,
that was a laugh out loud moment for me when they showed the karate videotapes, because I remember like seeing those at the video store and renting those occasionally. Be like, I'm gonna learn karate by watching this videotape, and so
right. But the original Splinter was like a pet rat from an actual ninja master. That he like observed the ninja master, in his dojo, and then when he became a mutant, he like knew what to do.
That's movie Splinter from the.
It's comic book Splinter too.
Is that comic book Splinter too? Okay, because cartoon Splinter was human,
the master,
right, and was training with Shredder, and then somehow got turned into a rat. I don't remember exactly how that happened in the cartoon.
Sure. I'm looking at the character poster, the official character poster for Jackie Chan as Splinter.
It does. Okay.
Well, it's definitely Splinter.
I'm just saying, if whether they say his name or not, he's definitely named Splinter.
Okay, cool. Well, he's never named that in the movie. So,
yeah. And then April O'Neil's character was heavily contextualized into this world, I would say.
How so?
They made her a teenager as well.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. In like working for the school newspaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But pretty much the setup with her is the same. She's just younger. She's just like an intrepid reporter trying to get a leg up and finds the turtles and they save her. So she's not freaked out by them. And then they become buddies.
Totally.
What's another change? Baxter Stockman doesn't become the Fly character.
Right.
It's like they kind of separated those two sides of that origin story, which I thought was curious. I don't know why they did that.
Maybe to make it more of these are all mutant animals.
Not mutant humans.
Not mutant humans. Right.
Okay. So in this world, humans don't become mutants.
No, because the main bad guy was, maybe this is too spoiler. Main bad guy wanted to turn the animals into mutants and then enslave humanity.
Sure. So the story wouldn't work if there was a human mixed in there because then it's not all animals versus humans.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, his plan was flawed because there's no reason to think that humans wouldn't also become mutants. Like it just had never been applied to a human. He really had no idea what would happen. But there'd be every reason to believe that a human would mutate as long with the animals.
Right.
Am I right? I mean,
yeah. Without knowing how this comic book ooze works, right?
But he doesn't know either.
True, right? You would assume that it is gonna work on all biological life, not just some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed that Bebop and Rocksteady seem to become our good guys already.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was cool to see them in the movie, but I don't think we're gonna be getting more of like them fighting the Ninja Turtles.
You don't think so? Why not?
Well, because they seem to sort of. Now we're getting into like spoilers, but they chose.
Well, this is very consequential. This discussion we're having, so maybe hold it back a little bit.
They chose a side at the end.
Sure, but that doesn't mean they couldn't be flipped again.
Okay.
For other reasons, you know what I mean, that aren't in this movie.
Good points. But,
sure.
They're classic bad guys.
Okay.
I will say we got very little of them in this movie as far as characterization goes. Like there were more cameos of Seth Rogen and was it
John Cena?
Yeah, John Cena.
Rocksteady,
than like fully fleshed out characters.
That's a good point.
Sure. Yep. I mean, the only characters we really got a feel for was Superfly, played by Ice Cube, and Mondo Gecko as Paul Rudd. All the other mutants to me were just kind of like just another mutant in the frame for most.
Did you catch the credit for Paul Rudd? It said introducing Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I thought that was clever.
What are the rules about that? I wonder, was that a joke or is like why was that?
No, I think normally it's like I think it's a contractual thing.
But you do that for established actors? I thought that's usually for like their first big gig.
Has Paul Rudd done a voice for anything else?
Yeah,
I'm sure he has.
Yeah,
I took it 100% as a joke.
Me too.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any, like, there's definitely actors will go do their contracts will be like, I want to be an and at the end or a featuring at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there's actual rule of who can get an introduction, who can get an and or an or featuring. It's probably more of a between the studio and the actor's agent thing than a hard rule.
But why do it for Paul Rudd? Just because he's the most famous name in theory?
Right. It's fun to pick on him, and he's buddies. Like the voice cast it's a whole bunch of their friends, right? They also have who's Rose Byrne is the voice cast in it. You know, so I think it's just like a bunch of their buddies getting together to do voice casting. So they just had some fun with the credits at the end. And I think, James, you're overthinking this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it was a joke.
Yeah.
I don't think it was any type of contractual thing. Because again, you just use it for someone's like first movie, like, you know, a kid in a movie who's the star, like Haley Joel Osment or something.
Do you guys remember Mondo Gecko, the toy, the character?
No, I don't.
Oh.
That was new to me.
But Mondo Gecko was like introduced as like this, like the rad, cool 90s skater character. Yeah. So I thought it was funny to see him here.
Yeah. And it was great.
I want to know, who is Mikey's orthodontist?
Who is Mikey's orthodontist?
Yeah. Michelangelo had braces.
Oh, yeah. That's
like
true.
Does Splinter practice orthodontics on the side? Like,
Sure.
I know they're teenagers and that was part of the joke, but we're not just, you know, a teenager trope. But I was just thinking, like, well, who put the braces on them?
Can I say my favorite joke from the movie?
Please.
Towards the end, Donatello and Michelangelo are like, guys, we need to use our special skills to defeat Superfly. So Donatello, you've read every science fiction book that exists, like, and I'm really into improv. So like, Donatello, what should we do? And he's like, okay, we should do this. And then Michelangelo says, yes, and we should do this. That was just so clever. It's like a little improv joke.
Yeah. And the only people that would have gotten that are people who have heard the term yes and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was very subtle. Paul Rudd animated movies. I'm only seeing 4. Monsters vs. Aliens, which is a very big animated movie. Then we've got The Little Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Chippendales Rescue Rangers.
Okay.
And Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
So definitely been a voice in a major motion picture.
This is when we needed to have Scotty call in.
Really?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's just a funny joke, and I thought it was funny when I saw it. I think because I took it, maybe this is reading too far into it, but you know how like the current idea about Paul Rudd is he just doesn't age?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like he just always seems like he's a young guy in his first movie.
Sure. I think that's a reach, but okay.
Yeah. Definitely an anime movie which never features his face.
I think it's probably more a joke that like there's a ton of famous people in this. So of course, you know what I mean? You just throw one of them at the end. Happen to be Paul Rudd because he's Ant-Man type of thing.
I don't think this happened. I think it was very purposeful because he is Paul Rudd.
Okay. I mean, they could have very easily said introducing Austin Post.
What?
That's not a joke though. That's an actual introduction. Like,
no, he's been in things. I believe he's been in 1 or 2 other things.
yeah, but that's still not the joke. Like,
James,
that's what I'm saying, like it's not a joke.
The joke.
If it wasn't a joke, they would have put Austin Post, is what I'm saying.
But it was a joke.
I don't think they were like itching to do an introducing.
It's one of those, I bet you it was a stupid thing where they're doing the credits and Seth Rogen or someone's like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if we said introducing Paul Rudd? Like, oh, let's totally do it. And that was
didn't tell Paul Rudd,
right,
so that at the premiere he would see it.
And that was the extent of the thought that went into that joke right there.
Yeah, maybe.
So funny.
Anything else that they had a major
sometimes
change to?
The Turtles animation almost looked like claymation sometimes.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like how they moved, or
I liked it.
Yeah,
just kind of the look of it. And then anytime the camera like would pan, it had a very distinctive look.
Mm-hmm.
And then any explosions were suddenly very low detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like explosions would just be like some squiggles.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that each of them looked different. Because in both the cartoon and in the live action movie from the 90s, they're all the same character. The only difference is like character design. The difference is the color of their mask.
Yeah.
And in this
Leonardo was very much like the kind of generic look.
Right.
And then Raphael was big, Michelangelo was small, and Donatello was like had glasses.
Donatello's height seemed to change throughout the movie. It was his perspective, but I feel like they couldn't decide on how tall that character is supposed to be compared to everyone else.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
Also,
Megan wanted to know who was his optometrist also. So we real questions this movie brought up.
I also liked that they like firmly rooted this in like New York and like Brooklyn type environment.
Yep.
Like I think maybe that's why there's no like party dude attitude and like cowabunga and stuff like that, because that never made sense for like four turtles that lived in New York. That's
right.
not
It's
how
like
New
surfer
Yorkers
talk
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's California talk. So I think they dropped a lot of that stuff just and like built the cred up in like changing the race of some characters. You know what I mean? Like they made it more of like an urban flair to it. You add in the hip hop music, that type of stuff. It was just less Manhattan, New York, and more like Brooklyn, New York, or maybe even Harlem, New York, something like that. And I liked that again. They chose a lane there and really went with it.
Yeah.
And I did like that they are teenagers. It's cool, but I just miss the personalities of the turtles. I felt like the personalities, they were all just teenage boys, not separate teenage boys, not, individual teenage boys, just a group of 4 teenage boys. So
But maybe the sequel will really dive into their individual personalities.
yeah, I don't know.
I assume this will get the sequel.
Do you know Mr. Beast makes a cameo in this movie?
Did he?
As a voice? Yeah. Where?
He makes a cameo as a Times Square bystander in the flashbacks. Evidently he's drawn.
So one of the humans revolted by the mutants. Okay.
Is that official? Like, if it's just drawn, does he say anything? Or is it just someone thinks it looks like Mr. Beast, or it's meant to be Mr. Beast?
I think he does actually say something. He's credited in the credits.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing whether he actually said a line.
I thought it was pretty random that they showed actual footage of Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah. But they didn't play any audio. Like they were playing other music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if was that a rights issue. Like we can afford the picture, we can't afford the audio though.
Yeah.
And I don't think any kid cares about Ferris Bueller right now.
Well, that was the weird thing. Like there was definitely, it was not heavy for sure. But there was definitely like some fan service going on for people like, my age, your age type of thing. And I think that was in there for that reason. Like you could put, like if you were to pick a movie that came out in the last 10 years, what would you put that would supplant that movie? Whereas with that movie, it's got 40 years of legacy. And I think even like my son's seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I bet most 14 to 18-year-olds have seen it at this point.
No. Most 14 to 18-year-olds have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
I doubt that.
I mean, my son's 25. He's seen it.
Yeah, but
he's very different than 14 to 18.
He has you for a dad.
I'm saying that movie has not gone away completely. Whereas a lot of
No, you're
movies
saying
have.
that most 14 to 18-year-olds have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I'm saying there's a good chance.
Good chance. Okay.
Maybe most is the wrong word. If you're going to pick a movie where people who are 50 and people who are 14 have had a chance to see that a lot of dudes like, because I'm guessing that was the majority of this movie's audience. Maybe not all, but more than 50%. That had the themes that they were looking for, that people could say, "Oh, I know that movie. I know it's about a guy who's popular." You know what I mean? Like these are the things they need an audience to make a quick connection with. I'm just saying, it feels like not a weird movie to put in here. I can't think of a better one.
It's just so old.
James,
Right.
I see you're saying that like the point of that scene was they were seeing how cool high school was.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Exactly.
like the movie I would have put in there that's not thematically appropriate would have been The Hangover, because I think that's just a movie that everyone could recognize who is 14 to 50.
Sure.
But
Those guys aren't in high school. The whole point of that movie is that they're too old for what they're doing.
Right. So I'm trying to think of a movie that came out in the last 10, 15 years about high schoolers that everyone has seen.
You're right.
Superbad?
That people who are in their 40s has seen.
Right. What did you say, Zach?
Superbad?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, actually, Superbad would have been worked because that also has. But they're middle schoolers, I thought. Or I guess they're high schoolers.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
I
that would have been
think they're
Seth
middle
Rogen
school
too.
going into high school. They're like freshmen.
Yeah. Okay, maybe Superbad would have been a more recent and equally appropriate pick. I'll give you that one.
Disagree. I mean, those guys are nerds. Ferris Bueller was not the nerd. You know what I mean? He was the guy. He was the cool guy in high school who got away with everything.
I think he peaked in high school, though.
Probably.
like his only story in it going on from there was like, hey, you guys remember when I was in front of that parade that one time? Like, yeah, that was like 30 years ago, man. What have you done since? Sell used cars? Come on, get a life. Go sell a Chrysler or something.
Sure. All right. Anything else with this movie that's mild spoilers? All right. Let's do final thoughts and letterbox ratings. Out of 5 stars. What are you guys gonna give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem?
I'm gonna give this.
I give it 3.5.
3. Okay. I'm gonna go 4 stars. Maybe because I watch a lot of kids movies, and this is just so much more enjoyable than the other ones that I watch.
Sure. I'll give it a 3.5 as well. I think it could have been a 4, but I just felt like the main characters were so genericized, which I've already mentioned. That for it to really elevate, they need to distinguish between the 4 characters. I did like, though, that Raphael had a full hood on instead of just the bandana. That was cool. That's a nod to the original comics.
Right.
For sure.
I wanted to pause when they showed April's notebook because she had all her notes. And one of them was the red one has definitely stabbed someone. Like in her notes. And I bet you there was more of those jokes in there, but it was on the screen way too short. So
I thought it said I thought it was a list of questions, and the question was how many people has the red one stabbed?
okay, sure, maybe that's what it was. But
Sure.
Okay. Either way, I thought that was a funny joke.
2 other thoughts I had. One is I'd be very curious what this looks like in 3D.
It was an option
Yeah.
at my theater, and I
Yeah.
almost did it, but it didn't line up with the showings. So,
I think it could have been interesting. And second, did you guys stay for the end credits?
Like the end credits or the mid credits?
Did you see the end credit scene?
the one
I don't
right
know.
outside New York with like somebody looking
Did you
at
see
New York.
a end credit scene?
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's the mid credit scene.
Yeah, but that's still under the umbrella of end credits.
I know, but I think starting today we should now differentiate between a mid credit scene and an end credit scene, because there's one that happens like the traditional thing is you have the stylized credits, and then there might be a mid credit scene, and then you have your scroll, and there may be an end credit scene. Correct? Can we agree?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
what it's been for like a decade now.
Yeah.
I don't know why Zach's arguing this.
I'm not arguing anything.
Mid credits versus end credits.
Right. Just when you say end credit scene, I think like, oh, I should have waited till the very end.
Right.
So, but yes, I did see the mid credit scene.
Me
I was
too.
expecting a different villain. It makes sense the one they showed, but I was expecting a different one to show up.
I mean, they mention another potential sequel villain earlier. Not much earlier, like towards the end, but like in the wrap up before the credits, pre-credits. It was a pre-credit scene.
Oh, so the movie?
But it was like right near the end when they're
Right.
kind of like recapping what everybody's up to today.
Okay.
There's an April O'Neil scene where she's got stuff on her board behind her.
I saw that too. Yeah, I saw a schematic, a drawing of something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that was not the one I was thinking was going to show up at the very end, the very middle, I should say.
Right. Exactly.
Zach, anything you want to add? Yes, I think we all saw the mid-credit scene.
Nice. I was just asking if you did.
Okay. I want to tell you who I thought it was going to be, but I think that's going to spoil things. So
Why would that spoil what you thought it was going to be, but it wasn't?
Because then it reveals who it's not going to be. So
that's okay.
Okay.
That doesn't spoil anything.
Well, you can start eliminating bad guys. There's only so many key ones. I thought we were going to get a Krang reference just because TCRI stood for like something cosmic research. So I thought we were going right to like interdimensional. Let's bring in Krang because the movie's weird enough already. So why not bring in a talking brain early into the series?
Yeah. I love Dimension X stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah. What do you guys, when it comes to Krang, are you Krang as like one guy, one brain, or Krang as a species of alien brains? Which one do you lean towards?
I always thought Krang was a species.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I think of it.
Okay.
Yep. But they all think at the same wavelength, right? One person thinks that they all think it, type of thing.
Like a collective?
Like a hive mind?
Yeah. They're the Borg?
Sure.
Yeah, possibly.
That too.
Maybe. Were the neutrinos from Dimension X?
That doesn't ring a bell. I don't know.
They were like kids with like punk haircuts who drove flying cars.
Then I doubt it. If they're kids with punk haircuts.
With flying cars, though.
Well, maybe that was Dimension X technology.
Yeah, I thought the neutrinos were also from Dimension X. They are my favorite addition to the cartoon back in the day.
Nice.
All right. 2 3.5s and a 4 for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles : Mutant Mayhem. Let's move into our list for this week. It's running down or ranking the top 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie adaptations. So this is a mixture of the live action and animated versions of the beloved 4 turtle characters. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Kyle's going to go first.
All right. 3 points to make before I go first. Number 1, neutrinos are from Dimension X.
Okay.
So,
glad we
get that clarified.
Fantastic.
Number 2, I've only seen 4 of the 7 movies we're discussing.
Okay.
So I will be ranking these bottom 3 how bad I think they are.
Okay.
And I guess my third point is my number 7 is, let's go with the first Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I'm not sure what it's called, but I never saw it. I saw the trailer. I thought the idea was dumb. I thought it looked stupid. I believe they're aliens. So for all those reasons, it's probably the worst of the 7 movies.
You're wrong. It's not the worst.
Okay.
You are wrong.
The worst is the sequel.
Yep, I agree. That's my number 7.
It's what?
To that one.
I'm just gonna say I'm just going that it's the worst just because it brought us the idea in the first place. So what could be worse than that?
Fair enough.
I haven't seen them, so I don't know. Yeah.
No, I mean my number 7 sounds like it's Zach's number 7 is the 2016 Michael Bay sequel, which basically took something that was already bad and somehow made it worse. And I guess we can move to number 6 because I'm guessing your 6 is the original Michael Bay one, Zach.
Yes, absolutely.
You guys just gonna skip my number 6?
I mean, it's the Out of the Shadows, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean they just so if Mutant Mayhem feels like it's people who actually care about the franchise, you know what I mean, who care about the characters and the IP and all that kind of fun terminology. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michael Bay version just seems like somebody who is only interested in things that I'm not interested in when it comes to the turtles. You know what I mean? Like the alien aspects and big, bulky fighter characters and spastic visuals and stuff like that. It's just like I didn't understand it. Zach?
Yeah, it's awful. It's a joke how you could take something that I really, really like and strip away everything about it that I like and amplify everything that doesn't matter at all to why people like the Ninja Turtles. It's so offensively bad in my mind.
Yeah, and it takes like the worst of what Transformers became and just like tries to apply it to the Turtles. It's like, okay, we don't need high octane muscle bound turtles from an alien race. We just need normal turtles in a sewer that are angsty and teenage.
They weren't turtles. They weren't teenagers.
Right.
They weren't mutants. It was silly.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So glad that's over.
I'm really glad I never saw these movies because they sound as awful as I imagine they are.
And Megan Fox is like April O'Neil. It's so silly.
Oh, Megan Fox is in them?
Yeah.
I thought she didn't want to work with Michael Bay after Transformers. Or is
Michael
this still
Bay
in the middle?
Michael Bay didn't direct any of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. He just produced it.
He produced
Jonathan
them.
Liebsman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Shows
you know,
what I
she
know.
likes money. So
All right, Kyle, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a Turtles movie that came out in 2007, which I just learned about today existed. So I have no opinion on this movie. So that's why it's number 5.
My number 5 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which it's not that I don't like this movie. I just don't care about it. Like I remember seeing it when it came out and I didn't think it was very good. I think they definitely had hit like, okay, we're going to be more like a live action cartoon happening here. And, I complained a lot in our review about Mutant Mayhem that like, there's no pathos left for each individual character. And this is a good example of that. Like just the Turtles have become like this homogenous group of people. And it's more about this time travel story than it is about anything personal to any of the individual characters in the movie. And so I just find it to be not offensive, but inconsequential to me.
Yeah, James, my number 5 is also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 from 1993. So there's a significant drop in quality with this movie. And at the time, I remember thinking like, oh, this is following like a Back to the Future kind of progression, where now the third one, you go back in time. And that's just what all movie trilogies will do. And I really did kind of carry that belief into adulthood of thinking that's the norm. And anything that doesn't go back in time in the third film is deviating from the norm. But I've rewatched it in adulthood and it's not great. It's kind of hard to watch at times. And it really bothered me that they changed the costumes.
Yeah.
Like, why? Just keep them the same. Like, they're the same characters. Just leave them.
Is that the one where they like made the lips move on the turtles?
No, they just look more cartoony in the third
and they have
one.
more freckles and stuff. I don't know.
more spots.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is Teenage Mutant number 3. Turtles in Time, I think. I've seen this movie maybe once or twice. Even as a kid when it came out, I recognized like, oh, this is a step down from where it should be. Like you said, the costumes are worse. Splinter, who's barely in the movie, is only like in a window. I think he's a hand puppet where you only see his like upper body. So that felt cheap. And I can't even tell you what happens. They go back to feudal Japan, have to find a talisman or a something. There's a doohickey that they need to rescue. I don't remember at all. What I did like about this movie is the spin-off toys. You get samurai versions of the Ninja Turtles. And I had a samurai Leonardo with like the wood armor. That was pretty sweet.
I had the samurai Raphael.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Pretty cool. Yep. So my number 4. Turtles 3.
Nice. My number 4 is TMNT from 2007. This is their first stab at an animated big screen version of the Turtles. And I like it. It's definitely not a great movie by any stretch. But it is a rather faithful version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story. And sometimes that's good enough. And I think things could go, as we found out 7 years later, horribly wrong if somebody's making a Turtles adaptation. And I think maybe one of the issues with this one is just that they stuck so close to the formula that there wasn't a whole lot to chew on that was surprising to anybody. And not only that, but like 2007 animation just doesn't, you watch it today, animation from 2007 from like an unknown animation company, not like a DreamWorks or a Pixar. And you're just kind of like, ooh, all right, they were still figuring things out back then. So, yeah, I think it has those things going against it. But overall, if you're just looking for an animated Turtles film that's telling the story pretty straight, I think that's this movie. Do you want me to tell you guys a unrelated but related story to TMNT from 2007?
No, thanks.
I need it.
Okay.
So in 2005, which is when I learned about this movie, I noticed that it's done by an animation company called Imagicom. Okay. And at the time, I worked for a ride and show company in Orlando named Imagicom.
Oh.
Okay. Spelled exactly the same. And we owned Imagi.com. And so I noted this and I went to my boss and I said, hey, there's this animation company that I've never heard of, but they're making the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. And they don't have a website. They'd probably want like your domain. And he was like, yeah, but that's my domain. I was like, yeah, I know, but this is like a Hollywood studio. Like you could probably just, like, this wasn't a big company. This was like 4 guys that worked in one business. It was not a big business at all. I was like, well, what's it going to hurt to like open up a dialogue with them? Because who knows? You know what I mean? Like this is their first animated movie. And so who knows? And so he was like, okay, well, just go ahead and reach out to them and, ask them if they were interested, see what you can find out. So I emailed people. I found their emails online and emailed people. And they were like, yeah, we're interested. We'll give you $40,000 for it. And so I brought that to my boss, $40,000. And he was like, nah. He passed on it. And by 2007, before the movie came out, that business was out of business.
Oh.
And then my boss tried to sell them the domain for $40,000 and they said no, because they had already decided on a different domain and had it for a few years and realized it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They don't need it anymore.
Bummer.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I've never left 40 grand on the table.
Never?
Have you?
What day is today?
Have you walked away? Have you walked away from 40 grand that like, oh, just sell this domain that I've spent maybe $100 on?
I've never had anything worth 40 grand for sale.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, my number 4.
James, my number 4 is also TMNT from 2007. So far, our lists are 100%.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm curious if our list will be identical or not. It really comes down to our number 3.
If they're identical, that's a super bingo.
Oh yeah, it's the impossible bingo.
I think if they're identical, the show just ends, right? Like this could be the last episode of Cinereelists right here.
I think we'll know as of number 3 whether they're identical.
We will. Yeah. And I don't know what you'll put, James.
Okay. Well, I don't know what you'll put either.
Well,
I don't know what you'll put either.
I'm going to break the tension by revealing my number 3.
Okay.
And my number 3 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. If you had asked me 30 odd years ago what my favorite movie was, it would be this one, because this one I probably watched the most. It's a very kid friendly movie. So much into the fact that the turtles can't even use weapons in this movie. Like, they don't use their traditional nunchucks or swords. The studio made them use like bologna sticks or whatever objects they can find in a toy store. This had the Vanilla Ice wrap in it. This had Tonka and Razor, and my favorite line reading from Shredder, which I've mentioned on this podcast before.
What was it?
Oh, when Tonka and Razor get revealed, and they look to be all like mean, and you realize that they're small, like they're infantile children. And then Shredder goes, "They're babies."
Yeah. And he really emphasizes the syllables. They're babies.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Let's see if I can find it.
This has Kino in it, who's driving the
he's great.
delivery cart. Who I can't remember the actor's name, but I think he actually played one of the turtles in the first movie.
He did.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie had everything I loved about the Turtles as a kid. And I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm sure it's going to look cheesy in some moments. I've watched a lot of clips of it online, but it really was a lot of fun back in 1991 or 2 when this one came out. Oh, and this one's got who's the great British actor? David something, who plays the scientist.
I don't know.
He's
David Warner?
Yeah, David Warner. Yeah. David Warner plays the scientist in this movie, which is.
Do you guys want to hear "Babies, They're Babies"?
Yes, please add that one.
Yes, come forward. Attack me if you will. When it is over, you will call me master. Mama? Get off me! Babies! They're babies!
There it is.
What did you expect? I cannot quote
that's it.
Beth.
Let the nostalgia wash over you.
James,
Can you just like visualize everything just from hearing it?
I could.
Yeah. My number 3 is the same as Kyle's number 3. Turtles of the Ooze, or whatever. Secrets of the Ooze.
Secret of the Ooze.
Secrets of the Ooze.
Secret.
Just one secret.
It's one.
Just
secret.
one secret.
Not many secrets.
It is the Secret of the Ooze.
I didn't realize this, but man, that movie came out in 91, and the original came out in 90. They turned that around real fast.
Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure that this one was pushed out fast, which is some of the reason why there's a dip in quality.
Yeah. I mean, I have strong like nostalgia attachment to this, but it's not good. It's just more, I would say. And it's kind of stark how kind of dangerous the original movie feels compared to the sequel. The sequel, it's like they were just like, we got to shave 5 years off of the average audience that goes to see these things. For some reason, they were like, they had a huge hit on their hands with the first one, and they were like, let's screw this up.
Make it for the kids.
Let's change it, even though the first one worked. Type of thing. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me as an adult, but at the time, I don't even think I clocked it. It wasn't until I rewatched it later on in life where I was like, oh, there's a huge dip between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That I definitely feel to this day. So my number 3. Secret of the Ooze.
The Secret. I have to say, unfortunately, our lists have diverged.
Oh no!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem is my number 3.
All right.
And I enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's legendary. So it'll make my number 3 on this list.
My number 2 is Mutant Mayhem.
My number 2 is Mutant Mayhem.
Perfect.
Which we
my number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
Nice.
I actually love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I mean, nostalgia for sure, but I've watched this as an adult and had a great time. It has so much to love. First of all, I love that they get a new layer and it's like an old train station. I just think I thought their new like layer was awesome.
Yeah, like the subway with all the lights that turn on covered in cobwebs.
Yeah. The super giant dandelions.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated
David
by
Warner's
that.
picking them at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. The ninja rap, so iconic.
Do you guys hear the ninja rap in Mutant Mayhem very briefly? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good.
They had a remix going.
I was disappointed that they didn't use Bebop and Rocksteady. I definitely think they should have used Bebop and Rocksteady instead of Tokar and Razor. But I love Super Shredder. Super Shredder was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So big fan of Secret of the Ooze.
Did we ever get a reason for why they had to invent mutants instead of just using the ones everybody knew?
I don't know, but I do know that that they always had very complicated IP battles for the Ninja Turtles.
Right.
So I don't know the specifics, but it should have been Bebop and Rocksteady. That's the worst part of the Secret of the Ooze.
Is Toka and Razor?
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a quick Mutant Mayhem question?
Yes.
So when Bebop was shown for the first time, they really highlighted his nipple piercings.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Does Bebop have nipple piercings in the original cartoon?
Doesn't sound right.
Not that I remember.
Obviously, I remember like the nose ring,
Sure.
but I just don't remember. Like, was that something that we were watching?
Okay, I'm looking at an image, and he's wearing a vest that covers him, so you wouldn't be able to know.
Could you Google Bebop nipples, please?
No, I'm unable to do that.
All right, let's see. Here's a toy, and he's
Make sure the safe search is on.
no. Turn the safe first off. They
I think there's no reason to think that he did.
Okay.
He just had a vest on. You would never have known.
They just really showed the nipples in this movie, so I didn't know if that was like a
Yeah, I think that's a joke.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at this toy. I don't see any nipple piercings, but I got to do some more diving into this one.
All right, Kyle, what's your number one?
My number one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Which
Same with me.
I'm assuming is across the board.
Same with me. I love this movie. Do you guys know what its Rotten Tomatoes is?
Probably not high.
It's probably like 59%.
42%.
42%. What? This movie has so much depth to it for what should have been like a kid's comic book movie.
Yeah, there's darkness, real darkness.
It's real darkness. Like so much of the story is driven by Raphael's brashness.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scene when they're like in the farm country healing. Like there's that whole segment in April. April is drawing like pictures of all of them, and they're the most impressive watercolors you've ever seen in the Ninja Turtles.
She's very talented.
Right. And that was the kind of artist I wanted to be at 7 years old. Like I tried to draw Ninja Turtles as well as she could in this movie.
Nice.
Yeah, Shredder gets a real death. We
Mhm.
think, spoiler alert, he's back in number 2, but like he's in a garbage compactor. And this is a movie I definitely saw in the theaters as a 7-year-old, and it felt like I was watching an adult movie at the time.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
yeah. Well, Raphael swears.
Yeah, it was like a dangerous kids movie. I would
Right.
say it was like kind of the last of the '80s, Monster Squad-ish type movies where it's just kind of like this is a kids movie, but we might curse once in the movie, or like in this movie, there was like a group of bad kids that like sold cigarettes on the street.
Oh,
You know what I
Sam
mean? And, like,
Rockwell.
and they like
Stole things.
They skateboarded. You know what I mean? And other hooligan activities.
But how cool was that Foot Clan layer though? Like you
It
could
was
skateboard
awesome.
and play pinball and eat pizza.
Yeah, they had like video. They had stand-up arcade machines, and
Right.
I mean, I think that was meant to. It wasn't like meant to be like, oh, I wanted to be there with those kids.
Right. Yeah. It seemed cool.
Even though those were the bad guys.
Well, yeah, you understood the Faustian bargain that those kids were making, right? They wanted the fun. They wanted Paradise Island of Pinocchio.
Right.
But with that comes you turn into a donkey or a Foot Clan.
Yeah. Also, I remember the first movie specifically motivating me to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like in the front yard. Like seeing the movie and then being like, yeah, getting out the broomstick because I was Donatello and like hitting things with it and ninja kicking the gate and stuff like that.
The gate.
And like none of the other movies made me do that. It was just like the first one was just so real to me that I was like, oh, I just wish the Ninja Turtles were real. Because they look so real in that movie.
They do.
The puppets are incredible. The animatronic or the suits, I guess, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. I mean, they were half animatronic, half man in suit. For sure.
Yeah. Zach, you anything to add to this?
Love that movie. So good.
I love the opening scene where a wallet is stolen and it gets handed off to like 15 different kids. It seemed like
great.
a lot of work to get $6.
But it's just like that insidious feeling that there's this hidden network of crime, I love it.
Right, like someone's unloading TVs from a truck and the camera pans. It's like a truck full of TVs. The camera pans away. You hear like, and then it pans back and the truck's empty. And like as a kid, I was like, wow, how'd they do that?
Yeah. And the score is really good in that movie.
Yeah. It's a good movie. And Zach, you and I watched it a couple years ago. Totally held up. Like,
yeah,
it didn't feel like oh, it was nostalgia, but it was also a good watch. Yeah.
And Casey Jones is pretty awesome in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His performance too, you watch it these days and you're like, I thought this guy was the coolest thing ever. But you watch it now and you're like, man, is he a cliche that has nothing to say?
Right, but also like the movies were a little sexy. Like Casey Jones had the hots for April.
All right. Yeah.
Right. Like there was,
And aren't there like jokes about the turtles being into April too? But they're like, oh, she's a human though, or something like that.
Oh yeah, they would always talk about who had the best chance with her, and they would. Mikey would kiss the TV. When she was
That's
on
right. I forgot that.
Yeah. Why do you think they did? Why did they go backwards between 1 and 2?
Budget.
I mean, in my perception, backwards. Because 1 was a huge hit. They made a ton of money. Why would you just be like, okay, let's change it?
To crank
1 came out in 1990, and they released 2 in 1991. So there was not a ton of time for script or anything.
Right, but they did tone down a lot of stuff on top of that. Like Kyle mentioned, like they for some reason they wouldn't show weapons in the second one.
I think
they
it
wouldn't
became,
show you weapons
because it
being
became
used.
more of a hit with kids maybe than they thought it would, and like the cartoon was going at the same time, so they realized we have to make a kids movie with this one, and not just a family movie. If you don't call the first one.
But why would you say that when the first one had edginess to it and was a huge hit anyway? Like, why wouldn't you assume that part of the reason why it was a huge hit is because of the edginess?
Oh, because I'm sure corporate overlords always look at the best in everything. Like, I don't know. I just think people learn the wrong lessons from things.
Okay.
So, yeah. Like, I don't know exactly what went into their thinking, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
What
it
exactly
is fun to
was
see.
the secret of the ooze?
Say that again?
What was the secret of the ooze?
Mutations.
Did it
they
cause
are the
mutations?
secrets.
They are the secret, yeah.
Nice.
It is fun to watch Sam Rockwell in the first movie, though.
He's
And
just the
think of,
one
like-
scene, right?
Yeah, just think of how far his career has come since being in that movie. For sure. I was watching Project Greenlight from like 2005 because I've never watched the series. You guys know what that is?
I've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
It's a reality show about people who are making a movie. And they were showing casting sessions from 2005, and all of a sudden in this casting session, he doesn't even have a line in the show, but there's John Barenthal like auditioning for the movie that they're making in Project Greenlight.
Really?
And that kind of blew my mind too, because that guy went on to like Walking Dead and Sicario and a bunch of other things I've liked. And here he is like auditioning for this movie that had no budget for like a reality TV show in 2005.
Yeah, Walking Dead was his breakout, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was our top 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film adaptations. If you disagree with our list, which how could you, really? I mean, I think this is generally how most people think about these things, I imagine. I imagine our lists are not going to be controversial in many ways. Yeah, if you have your own list, please send it our way to heyguys@cinereelists.com. You could also follow us on social media on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok at Cinereelists. Or you could follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaban.
You can find me on Letterboxd at PeterSKB.
Next week, we will be talking our top 10 forgotten films of 2008, continuing our Forgotten Films series. Did we decide 10 years was the limit, right? We can only go to 2013 at this point.
Either that or you can't go into a year that the podcast already existed. So
that would be 2013.
So 2013 might be the end of the series because
okay,
at that point you're just cycling upon yourself.
Sure, it's only six more entries and then the series over.
We could
go backwards. We could go to 1989.
That's gonna be a stretch for sure, but
Why?
we could try.
Just because you haven't seen a bunch of 89 movies? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe you do like Forgotten Films of 85 through 89. Take like a 5-year chunk.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm glad we don't have to decide that right now. All we have to do is say goodbye. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep it Cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.